A lot of reviewers have dubbed this a more affordable boomstick that is slightly less forgiving. But after putting it to the test for a couple weeks, I have a different perspective. There are some glaring differences here that I think allow the Q2 to come out the winner. But it raises a serious question. This thing is an absolute cannon. Can an intermediate player like myself have fun and actually play well with a paddle that is this powerful? Because at $212, it's definitely cheaper than the boomstick. But in today's crazy paddle market, is the RPM Q2 worth your hard-earned cash? Let's find out. Few housekeeping things to get out of the way. First of all, I did purchase this paddle with my own money. I went with the Q2 wide body 16 millimeter. This paddle does retail for $250, and you can purchase it for $212 after using the code PBD. If you're someone looking for maximum power and pop, the Q2 is a perfect fit. Not only will you rip drives from the baseline, but if you're in a hands battle, either speeding up a ball or countering, this is the perfect weapon. Not only because it is so powerful, but it's also extremely light. In my mind, maneuverability is part of those hands battles just as much as pop. So when you have a combination of a low swing weight with a high twist weight and high pop profile, I find myself winning a ton of battles at the kitchen. Driving from the baseline and serving also feels very effortless. You really don't need to put in a lot to get a huge output from this paddle. Another deciding factor for me when I pick up something that's at the elite power level is how linear and controllable that power is. For my game, I didn't really find too much of an adjustment period. Keep in mind, I've been testing with the likes of the Packle Fuse, the Aereo Cyclone, the Luz Inferno. So there's been a lot of power in my recent history, and my game has started to adapt to that sort of play style. Something where you really don't need to do much on drops and resets, and even if you're looking to drive from the baseline, you don't want to put everything into your shots or else you'll find yourself going long. But once you can calibrate and dial in that sweet spot between where you need to be with your swing, not only will it save you a bit of effort, it also feels extremely rewarding. When we think about control, the first thing that comes to our minds is how much power and pop do I need to give up in order to increase my control? That's how I've always thought of this topic until recently. I have played some really great pickleball with a lot of power battles lately. And as an intermediate player, I want to give you the go ahead to feel like you can not only have fun with a powerful paddle, but also play well. And I think the technology has gotten to a point where if you can really understand the linear power profile of something that has massive amount of upside with your drives and pop, you can then learn to adjust to that play style and really take advantage of all of that power without giving up much control. And that's where I'm at in my own game. I've tried a few all court paddles recently, and I just can't play well with them. So I keep coming back to these powerful paddles, and not only can I take advantage of all of the great things that they provide with power and pop, I'm seeing my control game get better and better because you really don't need to do much in order to get a reset or a drop over the net. As long as you have the right amount of force in your stroke, you can make it work. And that's something that's more personal to me and my game. But I do think you can decide for yourself, am I someone who can control a more powerful paddle? Or do I need something that's a bit softer, a bit more dense, and something that doesn't generate as much power as something like the Q2? With all that being said, not only will you get a decent amount of control in the Q2, it does offer a ton of forgiveness, at least in the wide body shape. I've taken a look at some of the specs on the elongated, and that was the main reason I chose the wide body, because the twist weight was a bit low on the elongated. And when you look at the wide body, you get a very stable package that is lightweight and customizable that will give you a lot more forgiveness than its counterpart. So as an intermediate player, I would recommend going for the wide body. If that's not your shape preference, this might not be the right paddle for you. The feel profile on the Q2 is one thing that I absolutely believe matches up with the Boomstick. It's very hollow. It's on the stiffer side. I do think it's not quite as stiff as the Boomstick, and I felt a good amount of dwell, especially on the 16 millimeter. If you do not like something that is extremely hollow and very stiff, you are not going to like this paddle. But again, for my playstyle as of late, I felt really connected to this paddle. It gave me great feedback on my shots with just enough dwell to help me place the ball exactly where I wanted it to go. Let us talk about spin and grit, and this is where things get a little bit complicated, especially from a value proposition. You're paying $212, and yes, out of the box, you get elite tier spin on the Q2. It's so much fun to play with. You'll see immense amount of dip and topspin on your shots. But because there isn't a long-lasting solution on the surface, that will wear down rather quickly, just like most carbon peel ply. And when you're spending $212, that becomes a bigger factor, especially now that folks like Honolulu, 11624, Spartus, and plenty others are entering the game with a grit technology that will let you maintain that type of spin over the course of you owning that paddle, or at the very least for 3 to 5 times longer than it normally would. And that's one of my big issues with the Q2. Because it doesn't have a long-lasting grit solution, I don't think you should rule it out completely, but if you're seriously looking to upgrade your paddle, I would probably look at something with advanced grit technology, or hold off until the Q2 is equipped with something that will give you more longevity to pair with the Gen 4 foam in the construction. So to summarize, for one, a 3.5 can absolutely handle a power paddle of this caliber. As long as you can dial in and figure out exactly how much force to give on dinks, drops, resets, you will be fine playing with this type of paddle. It is something that is probably a personal preference, but I don't believe it's as much related to skill as it is to your own preferences on the court. Secondly, is this paddle worth it? I would have to say ultimately, even though it provides a ton of performance, I just can't recommend this over some of the other paddles out there with new grit solutions. And I know RPM is hard at work looking for a new technology to add to their paddles. I think if I were you looking at this Q2, I would try to hold off and upgrade once they have that solution in place. And that is an important caveat to highlight here. I think if this had the same grit technology that Honolulu or 11624 had on their paddle, this would be in contention for my main. And it still is, because I swap out a lot of paddles all the time. I know a lot of you out there don't have that luxury, and that's the perspective that I'm trying to bring to you. If money and grit technology is not a concern to you, by all means, get 3 of these and you're going to be set. Because I really enjoy playing with this paddle. I keep coming back to it, pulling it out of the bag. I have other paddles that I need to test, and I just can't move on from the Q2. And that's what I'm talking about. I do absolutely love it. I just think it's important for you to understand the distinction when considering this paddle yourself. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it helped you make a decision, and I hope you can get out there and play some pickleball.